Yeah, hi. Thanks, Utuja. Hello and good morning to everyone. Welcome to the AU Small Finance Bank update call. From the bank, we have with us today Chairman of the Board, Mr. Rajvikas Verma, Chairman of the NRC Committee, Professor M.S. Sriram, MD and CEO of the bank, Mr. Sanjay Agrawal, and Investor Relation team. We will start with the opening remarks and then open the call for Q&A. I thank the management team for giving us the opportunity to host this call. I will now hand over the call to Mr. Sanjay ji. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, good morning, everyone. Hope you all are well. We released our update last evening, and I just want to reiterate the following key facts. First, about CRO. Alok joined us in the month of April 21. He was hired to replace Mayank Makande, who is still in the bank since 2016. He now has the credit card business. Entire risk team, which was built by Mayank, is still intact with not a single churn in the direct reports of CRO from last 5 years. Alok came from Mumbai with the assurance that family will move to Jaipur, which is for us is an important HR practice to ensure continuity and stability. However, COVID-2 waves changed his personal circumstances, and he has decided to relocate back to Mumbai to be closer to his family. For us, risk remains a very important function. Risk will play a very pivotal role in building a leading franchise business over the next decade. I am confident that Deepak, our new CRO, will play an important role along with his team. He is highly experienced, professional, and has been with the organization since 2010 as a CFO and then as a COO. We remain in absolute compliance with all the disclosures and the internal processes around informing our board and regulators. The second one is about internal audit. In terms of Sumit, it is a similar story. Sumit and his family suffered from the COVID in the month of April and May, and they belong to Delhi, and we all know about how Delhi faced that crisis in that time. And they actually survived that intense second wave there, and then he moved on to Jaipur. From day one, he was not comfortable in Jaipur, and his ask was that he can relocate to Delhi. And unfortunately, this and the CRO role belongs to Jaipur. We are in discussion with him to retain as per our usual HR practice. Sumit is also on the call to take any questions. Both Sumit and Alok have spent only a couple of months after May. It just happened in June, July, post-lockdown, right? I don't think there is an issue of culture because barely 2-3 months they have worked with us. And incidentally, we have hired around maybe 50 professionals over the last 12 to 18 months. And not much churn has happened there, right? Our top 50 senior team has a vintage of 6 years plus with us. I also want to give you one more data point that whole control functions, which include CRO, Head of Internal Audit, Chief Compliance Officer, Chief Vigilance Officer, has remained stable for our first 4 years of our becoming a bank, from 2017 to 2021. It was just the start of this year when we were looking to strengthen our control functions for our next phase of growth. We started hiring these new people. I can only say you that things did not turn out as we expected. Both these functions require the chiefs to be based out in Jaipur as our head office in Jaipur, and day-to-day regulatory supervisory framework is also run out of Jaipur. We have to take this two development as an unfortunate event where things are not control of anyone. We need to respect their privacy, their personal well-being also. I also want to reassure that the bank continues to do exceedingly well as per our commentary in Q1 call. There is a lot of momentum and energy with the month of July and August being far better than the Q1 in terms of business collection asset quality. I just want to invite our chairman, Mr. Verma, sir, for his comment on this development. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Sanjay. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be interacting with you all at this moment. At the very outset, let me confirm that under the risk control and governance aspect, the bank is very, very strong, and that's the top priority for the board as well as all the committees. The management is a very good connect provides a very good and sound connect between the board, committees, and the rest of the teams. Well, I can say at this time that it's unfortunate that both these officers who were recruited very recently, maybe about they would have spent about 3 months, as Sanjay, as the MD mentioned, have had to go through their personal problems, and it's totally beyond our control that we are not able to retain them. Though, however, the management tried their level best to give them options and to organize different alternatives, but somehow it has not worked out, and they are having to, at least Alok Gupta is having to shift to Mumbai for his own personal reasons. So we do have to respect that, but at the same time, I give the assurance on behalf of the board that in terms of control and governance, the bank is absolutely sound and very strong. It's on very firm footing, very firm ground. Bank is expanding, as you all know, and we have steady expansion in the bank's portfolio with due regard to control functions like particularly audit and risk management. These two departments are manned by professionals, and we have had very little churn in the sense that last the head of the risk management department, head of the CRO still continues to be with the bank, and after 5 years he was given an option. Naturally, I mean, he has to have his own career progression aspirations, so he did want to serve in other areas of the bank also, and continues to be there. So we had that opportunity to induct somebody from outside, and all these issues were discussed, in fact, in our personal meetings, I mean, which the chairman of the board and the audit committee chairman had with the individual candidates. And we felt that they were good as recommended by the management, and these issues were discussed. But unfortunately, the COVID second wave also had its impact, and as all of you know, that kind of shook the, I would say, the comfort or the expectations of the people who had joined, and as a result of that, they're having to decide on this change. It's unfortunate, I can say that, but the bank's business is on a very sound footing, and the internal control, where we have as many as 7 concurrent auditors, apart from the audit team, 50 plus people. We have 7 external concurrent auditors. We have the statutory auditor, and now we have 2 statutory auditors as advised by the regulator. So, and the audit committee of the bank, audit committee of the board is fully in control of the situation, and they are frequently, in fact, and fully adequately informed of the developments in the bank. We have a very strong audit team, and will be in case the head of the audit, in case he decides to finally go, which he has not so far, we are probably in the process of discussion, and possibly, I mean, if all goes well, he might even stay back. We do not know yet. So, but the audit committee and the board are fully in know of everything, and it's been done totally in consultation and coordination with the audit committee, the NRC, and the board. So, thank you very much as of now. Hello.
This is the operator. Shall we start with the question and answer?
Yes, please.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on the touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question, and request to please limit the question to 2 per participant. If you have a follow-up question, you may rejoin the queue. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Bhavesh Kulani from ASK Investments. Please go ahead.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity. Since we are dealing with the human resource angle here, I request you to, share the manner in which you are managing the different cultures that come in as part of lateral hires from various competitors or entities. Everyone comes with a different cultural background, different operating style. How are you managing that cocktail of cultures, and on top of that, kind of imbibing them with the distinct AU culture? So that's the, a detailed response on this. What all activities do you do to achieve that? I would appreciate it.
No, very important question because, I already commented in my previous narrative that after money, the most important asset in any bank is around human resource.
आपण ज्या व्यक्तीसोबत बोलत आहात त्या व्यक्तीने आपला कॉल होल्डवर ठेवला आहे. कृपया.
So from last 5 years, once we started as a journey as a bank, we were knowing that, now the whole system around HR practices need to overall. We need to be very forthcoming. We can't only do loan kind of company now. We need to build trust. We need to build relationships. We need to build entire ecosystem where people comes in and joins and really express themselves and, all those things. So initially we faced some challenges because the entire franchise was around Jaipur. But we shifted our own ED, Mr. Uttam Tibrewal, to Bombay 2 years back. And we established a corporate office there and 4 functions to be very honest. One, the whole brand banking piece, our old wheel business, our home loan business, and treasury is based out of Mumbai. So that allowed us to really hire people from that state, and we can be at a pan-India presence then, right? So that was one initiative we took 2 years back, and that is really working well for us. We actually hired not many people in Jaipur also, and we actually help them or facilitate them to get the kids' education in any of school. We allow them to build an ecosystem around them. We allow them to remain in Jaipur because life is very easy here. So we have done many things in last maybe 4 years, and that is why, to be very honest, we have grown from 6,000 workforce to now 22,000 workforce, and we remain as one of the most exciting franchise to join. We remain as one of the top workplace in India, and we've grown our senior management team from 10-member team to now close to 50-member team. And happy to tell you that, in that 50-member team, nobody, not a single resignation is there on table as of now when I'm speaking to you. And, the whole creation of our whole commercial side, whether it's salary, bonuses, the wealth creation opportunity through ESOP, it is there, right? People have really built their fortune around AU's whole journey of last 10 years. So in that sense, of course, in my opinion, we have done all our efforts, to really make this franchise one of the most attractive franchise for people to work. But challenges remain, because as you know, a lot of fintechs, a lot of new banks are also coming, a lot of existing banks are want to scale up, So we need to, and we being a successful franchise around our assets and liability, we are very natural approaching ground for many people, right? So we have to do this as an ongoing basis, and have to build more and more good HR practices. But I want to ensure everybody here that there is no culture, mismatch, or there is some kind of different environment in AU. It's very, very work alcoholic, very, very purpose kind of environment. So, and we are proud of that. That is why the performance of the team has been so different from many others in this business over the last 10 years.
And sir, if you can, in the same question, if I can add a little more, if you can highlight in detail the role of internal audit with the various important things that we report. If you can highlight that, that would be helpful.
So I will let Sumit answer this because Sumit is on the call. He is handling that portfolio. So Sumit, can you do this favor?
Yes, sure.
Yeah.
Hi, good morning. I hope I'm audible.
Yeah.
Okay, so from an internal audit standpoint, we are governed by the audit committee of board, and our mandate is to look into the internal processes, procedures, and the effectiveness of entire internal control mechanism with respect to risk management as well as the regulatory compliances. And as part of this job, we have a team which is a mix of in-house team as well as the external CA firms engaged by us, which is similar to how it happens across the industry. And all our outputs are closely reviewed, monitored, and the progress is seen by the audit committee of board. So the reporting and the visibility is at the highest most level in the organization. In case your question is specific to some of the financials or because you mentioned about the reporting piece, so statutory auditors are engaged separately by the bank, which is also under the oversight of audit committee of board. But that piece is to the extent of handled by those CA firms. So earlier it was SR Bakibai, and currently bank has impaneled and approved the empanelment of Deloitte as well as GM Kapadia, two firms.
Okay, sir. Thank you for the responses. It's helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Nidesh Jain from Investec. Please go ahead.
Thanks for the opportunity, sir. Sir, in the earnings call, and there also you are alluding to coaching of employees, which is happening for the bank. But I think these two cases that have happened now is not a case of coaching. So are we expecting more?
Sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Jain, but we cannot hear you clearly.
Or are we seeing some higher increase in the attrition rate? What historically we've seen in the bank? And how are we planning to stand that?
Sorry, brother, I didn't able to understand your question.
Is it audible now? Am I audible?
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you, sir. Your voice is still breaking.
Audible now?
You can try once more.
Am I audible now, sir? Is it better?
Nidesh, you are not audible. Prince here.
As we cannot hear from your line, sir, we'll move to the next question, which is from the line of Bharat Shah from ASK Investment Managers. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, good morning, Sanjay, and to the people on the call early in the morning. I really have no question to ask, but I just wanted to put 2 points. One, a sincere appreciation that you have chosen to, be on the call and to highlight and respond to the issues. And especially so, given the fact that there has been a very critical, important medical emergency in your family and that you have chosen to be on the call. So deeply appreciate. Second, more often than not, people probably underappreciate a challenge of building financial services franchise out of a place like Jaipur, where a normal place for that should be probably Bombay. And even outside Bombay, it is actually difficult. This is something like trying to build a great investment franchise out of Omaha, Nebraska, instead of sitting in New York or Boston, So to that extent, I deeply appreciate banking franchise sought to be built out of a place like Jaipur, and just wanted to highlight both of these points. Thank you, Sanjay and Titi.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Shishant Ansari from Ambit Investment Advisors. Please go ahead.
Hi. Good morning, Sanjay. Thank you so much for being on the call and organizing this at short notice for each of us. Sanjay, I've been meeting you for now almost 9 odd years. and I've seen how you've converted the whole franchise from NBFC to a bank now. One critical question comes to my mind in terms of how you are building your organization is, we all understand that when the organization is into such a high growth phase, there will be change of culture, there will be systems and processes which probably will reinvent themselves over a period of time. How long do you think, probably at the size of your balance sheet or in terms of number of years from here on, where it will be a much more structured place than it has been as part of your journey? Right? When you
Thank you so much. And it's a very interesting question. So, we have to break this in two parts. One, we have very old asset franchise, which is now close to 25 years, where the people are more settled, people know about the processes, the whole culture of AU is well laid down, and there you won't see much of challenge because the entire ecosystem works in a very organized way, right? But there are certain things which we are building as a bank, which is around liability franchise, which is around tech franchise, and maybe now control functions, I would urge everybody to take this two incident as an unfortunate event because you can't control beyond a point. Our idea was to hire these people to have an experienced banker. Sumit is a 16-year-old experienced guy, who understands banking in and out, right? And our previous audit officer was not from the banking side. So our idea was to really get to a new guy who can actually build right kind of processes, right kind of things for next 10 years, right? And it's very unfortunate that Sumit came, when he entered in an organization, he suffered with COVID, very intense COVID, he survived actually, to be very honest. So as an entry point, his confidence was not there because, people need more time to really settle down, right? And we are on a high growth kind of trajectory. So my point is this, that there are certain functions will get evolved with the time. There can't be any fixed tenure for that. But, I can say after 4.5, 5 years that my liability franchise is now getting shaped up. There was a lot of churn there also in first 3 to 4 years. But now people have understood that how and what they need to be done to remain in AU or what is our overall philosophy there, right? So now, maybe, because as I already commented, that our first CRO is still in the organization. Our first Chief Vigilance Officer is still in the organization. Our, first, you are talking to Sumit on this call also. I still believe because we might be able to retain him, right? Why Alok has why he want to really move on, right? We have a similar audit committee head from last 10 years. We remain with our same statutory auditor from 8 years. We got an overwhelming response and we asked for people to get us around statutory auditor. We got response from every big four of this country. So our chairmanship remained intact for last 12 years. So, in that sense, wherever you have a seasoning in AU, there is a lot of consistency and sustainability, right? And whereas we want to build a new portfolio or a new verticals or new things, it takes some time, right? And that's remained very, very strong in AU. So I would urge everybody there that allow us to, do the right thing for the business and keep ourselves evolving with the time, right? And both the guys, Sumit and Alok, both are on the call. You can ask them whether it's a culture issue or it is about their own personal issue, right? So optically it looks like that is maybe a culture issue, maybe a governance issue, but I would, with a lot of confidence and with my lot of transparency on this call, I want to assure everybody that there is not an iota of doubt on the governance, on the culture. Of course, we are lot of purpose on the ground, right? So that might have a different ask from the people, but that doesn't make us wrong, right? So I think in the journey you will find that people are getting more stabilized, and we build one of the most amazing franchise of this country.
Yeah, no, Sanjay, no doubt. I don't think any of us have any doubt in your ability to attract talent or to retain them or probably grow the organization. I think I was more about that because this is phase in which your bank is maybe a high growth phase, whereas you rightly said that from the asset side you are now moving to strengthen the liability side. right? And as you will add more products over a period of time, probably more things and more processes and more people will need to be added. And a people-driven organization has challenges all the time, right? We all face them, right? So churn in the employees, I would say, is never a challenge, also because organizations are built on processes, right, and not on people. People will come and all are go, right? So the question was more on to that. Can we look at more stable processes 5 years, or probably when the balance is about a level or so?
Sanjay,
yes, sir. Please, sir. Please go ahead, sir.
Yeah, that's a very, very good question, and this is something that is an ongoing process. It's always a kind of work in progress, but let me assure, the perception of the board is clearly that the systems and processes are fairly stable and institutionalized. What we also keep discussing about is the flexibility, the agility of the bank, and the nimble-footedness of the institution. So in these growing times and the way things are evolving in the sector also, given the mandate of the small finance banks and the constituency that they have to serve, it's very important that we have adequate flexibility in also our processes with due regard to the risk and control and governance. So the processes, because of the special nature of the funding of financing, the very differentiated kind of banking from the normal banking, and the mandate that we have is reaching out to the financially excluded people, reaching out to the financially underserved or unserved people. So you need to have due regard to their requirements and the needs of their livelihoods. So given all this, on balance, while the systems and processes are absolutely strong and stable, but at the same time, we also keep urging the management to build in adequate flexibility in our approach so that we can quickly and very swiftly move from one product to another product depending on the experience and the needs of the people on the ground. So that kind of business flexibility is important, and all this is now getting onto a digital platform which will give it more robustness, more sort of certainty, and more stability. So that's the kind of approach of the institution. And as far as the culture is concerned of churning or the human resources, the bank has a very, very supportive culture towards their staff at all levels. And that's something which we have been very appreciative about at the board and the committee level. And we know that all the staff, where we have had these for the past 1.5, 2 years, the kind of crisis, and that has been testing times for the institution also, where the kind of support the bank has extended to their staff has been immense, and that's something which is actually exemplary. So on the staff culture side, on the systems and processes side, but also at the same time, the need for certain flexibility and quick response to the situation developing on the ground has been very important. So all this is kind of built into the bank's DNA, and it transforms into the strategy and the program for the bank going forward.
So thank you so much. I think the best thing we like about AU is being transparent and coming upfront and to resolve any things which are in people's mind. So thank you so much for your time again.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Prasun Agarwal from BlackRock. Please go ahead.
Hi, thanks Sanjay for taking this call, and thanks to Mr. Verma also for being on this call and clarifying doubt. Sanjay, I'll probably state the two sort of optics which are not looking very good and get your feedback on that. Number one is when the bank is talking about being digitally ready, why is location a problem? Why can't people be based out of Bombay or Bangalore or wherever and work in a bank like AU? And second question is, how are the optics of, I mean, without going into the merits of the person, and I'm sure he's very experienced, globally it's not a great example when somebody who has been responsible for business lines, for example, in this case, the CEO, then becoming a CRO, those kind of optics don't really gel well, because one can always ask whether, risk is the utmost importance, or is it taking a backseat if somebody is coming from the business side and then taking over this responsibility. So these are the two sort of optics which I want you to address. Thank you.
So thank you. The good question. So first one, right? So you will appreciate that we have an office in Mumbai, we have office in Bangalore, we have office in Delhi, Ahmedabad, every locations. We allow people to work remotely. We allow people to work from home, depending on their own circumstances, right? These roles, both the roles, the the head of audit and the CRO is based out of Jaipur because the head office is here. The whole regulatory framework is there, right? And you can ask with both the gentlemen sitting on this call that we offer them that we can work from Delhi, they can work from Mumbai if they want some time to settle down, right? But unfortunately, they also believe that because AU is in the journey of the stabilization, in the journey of growth, and their entire team is based out of our entire risk governance control group is based out of Jaipur. So for them, it will be so difficult to work from Delhi or Mumbai and control their teams here. I would rather ask them to explain their own stance here. But we are flexible enough. And, this is a journey which we really all want to take in next 2 to 5 years. Because we also need to build that system, controls, and all those things. Because in a bank, once you start everything online or everything from home, it also creates a security risk. Because we are actually a custodian of public money also. So we need to take care of a lot of things, but in my opinion, the journey towards remote working or work from home has just begun, right? And we have also taken baby steps there. And it is the end state which we want to achieve in next 2 to 5 years. That's first one. The second one, Deepak Jain was never a business guy. He remained our CFO for 10 years. And as I already commented that we started rebuilding our entire team, whether it's for the back-end operations, whether it's for the risk control functions, to really manage our future, right? And that is why Deepak was given a role of CEO so that he can manage IT and all those things in back-end. And we actually hired new people to really take care of risk audit. And whereas, you saw Meng moving out from CRO to take care of the business function because he was the guy who handled business who handled risk for 5 years. And he was the right guy to really understand the whole risk around unsecured credit. So that's the culture we want to build in AU, where we want people to learn, explore, express, and move on, in terms of their own career aspiration within the organization, right? And Deepak Jain, being a chartered accountant for last 22 years, remained with us for 10 years. This is one of the most important functions as a risk management. Again, we don't want to go back to this similar position. We want to hire somebody and again same challenges. So I think we just requested him that and we actually selected 3-4 people around this, Chairman can comment on that. And out of that, we found that Deepak is the most eligible one to manage this because he has seen all the functions in last 10 years of AU's vintage, and I strongly believe that he will play a very important and critical role in building this function in near future.
Yeah, I'll add to what Sanjay has mentioned. Deepak has been, in fact, the board and all the committees of the board have been very familiar with the profile of Deepak and his experience and the background, and he has been the CFO of the bank for a very long time. And he has kind of been very, very, very seminal in contributing to the growth of the bank. So he has a good overview, has also the working experience in different verticals, and a good overview and insight of the bank's functioning. So that would be extremely complementary to his role of risk management. And he's one person who, from the attitude point of view or from his disposition, is somebody who is very, very detailed, a very detailed person. And that's the understanding of the board and the committees. And by the way, I'd like to also convey that the risk management committee is headed by a very experienced director who is a former managing director of State Bank of India, Mr. Vijay Kannan. So we have, as far as both at the operating level, the department level, and at the committee level, there is a good amount of gelling as well as control and governance spirit. So that's given that we felt that on balance, though we interviewed and we had interaction with some few other officers also. But we consider that given the span of experience and the span of activities which Deepak had been covering in his entire career and his overall approach and attitude, I think he was the right person to fit this slot. So we have fully supported the management and the recommendation of the NRC to get him there as the Chief Risk Officer. It also helps. I'd like to just indicate that head office being in Jaipur is a bit of a challenge. There's no doubt, as all of you know, it's very obvious in getting people to relocate to Jaipur. But within the given constraints, the bank has been doing very well. And the earlier CRO who we had and who continues to be with the bank, I think that will also be evidence of the fact that there is adequate continuity and stability in these functions. We have very good support team. So overall, it's a very, very supportive structure, and which is stable, and that should inspire confidence. Thank you.
Yeah, Sumit, can you put on that why we didn't opt for Bombay work from home or remote working?
No, I would say no, that the bank has been very supportive, and they had given me option of the same profile, CRO profile in Bombay, where I can operate from Bombay with the flexibility, as well as some other options. In case if you find that CRO position is not workable, and if there are any challenges, you can also look for others over a period, right? Because if there are any challenges, to remain in the bank. So I think I had all the kind of support that you would expect from an organization. All the kinds of support was there, but I think looking at my own personal things as well as the structure in the sense where the team was largely here, the risk management team, because the kind of construct we created a team which was largely in Jaipur. These are a few things which I thought, and I think, and it's largely my personal thing which I thought of, which was made me a decision that I should continue with my decision. And I think that as far as the organization is concerned, I think organization has been very supportive in giving me different options, either operating from Bombay as well as looking at different opportunities in Bombay.
Yeah, Sumit here. Similar to what Alok just said, ever since I've put on my papers, I've been in regular touch. There's been a regular engagement with the organization in terms of a possible retention solution that can be worked out for me. Having said that, the core of the problem that lies as of today is that, like Alok mentioned, the entire team is based out both for risk as well as audit functions in Jaipur. And my personal opinion is that if I, on an alone basis, am at a distance, probably the kind of value addition that I would want to bring on table would not be possible because of the geographical constraints. Other than that, there has been a regular engagement, and I'm thankful to the management for all the discussions that they had around for the last few weeks, and in terms of a possible resolution solution that we can work out in terms of how this continuity can be further ensured. But so far, this is where it is, that the concern in my mind is only in terms of a geographical distance away from my team, and then ability to deliver what I am hired for.
Yeah, thank you, Sumit. Just for one more clarification, our NRC Director, Mr. M.S. Shriram, has to leave the call because we have to do some, he has some classes at 9:15. If somebody want to really ask question to him, he's there for another 3-4 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjay. I got the answers. Thank
you. Okay.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Karan, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Am I audible? Hello?
Yes, you are.
Am I audible?
Please go ahead with the question.
Yeah, hi. Hi, Sanjay and team. I'm not only an individual investor, but a deposit holder. Myself and my friends, have a very considerable 10-figure plus deposit at your bank, which you see. We're also keen followers of the market. and the kind of drop in the price and this news of exits coming from 3rd March onwards, it's a bit spooky for us deposit holders. Forget us being investors, that's okay, we can manage. But as deposit holders having large 10-figure sums, it's a bit spooky. And, even yesterday we withdrawn about half of it. So, just for safety. So can you just give us some clarity and, how do we manage this? How do we manage our deposits? Because obviously you are offering 7% on savings and we have a 7.25 in FD, which other banks don't offer. So, just needed clarity on that and how should we bring our deposits back to you?
So, thank you for the support, and I'm really sorry for all this unfortunate events, because sometimes you have to just bear it up because you can't control beyond a point, But I just want to assure you and entire fraternity there that your money is well safe, because our performance around deposits, our performance around assets, our performance around collection, asset quality, is supreme honesty, because that's the way we are managing ourselves very well, and as I commented in my last investor call, that bank is building up its entire base so beautifully, so well that in terms of everything we feel more charged up, more energetic, And here, we have certain issues which need to be reported, which needs to be addressed, right? And as an individual, as an entrepreneur, as a first generation guy, I can just be part of the story, and can overcome it, right? And I strongly believe that you need not to be worried at all. We are working in the interest of depositors, because I personally also believe that a bank belongs to depositor first, and then the rest of the stakeholders. So there I can again reassure that be there with us, and we will serve serve to the core.
All right. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Kunal Mehra from NLP. Please go ahead.
Sanjay, thank you for the opportunity. Sanjay, as a prospective investor in the bank, there was two things I'd like to get your thoughts on. One, when you talked about transparency, we struggle with the extent of transparency purely because there's been a significant lag in the disclosure of all the resignations, and they've been teed up pretty close to fundraising, quarterly events. So help us understand how you're going to change that transparency going forward for prospective investors, because I think it's a really big deal despite all the platitudes all the previous investors have handed you. Second, Sanjay, in the recently concluded RBI audit, were there absolutely any exceptions noted or red flags raised by the RBI that you think investors ought to know?
Okay, so I think the second one first. So I would say, because as per the RBI regulation also, we need to disclose anything within 24 hours if they really want us. And this is already, we already completed our 3-year of audits, from RBI. And if you haven't published anything, you are rest assured that there was nothing very alarming or material to be disclosed, because that is governed by the whole regulation, right? So I want to reiterate that we have already done 3 audits of ours and nothing has come out. That is why no information is there in public, right? And the first one, about the disclosures, right? And you need to appreciate that if somebody, somebody goes, in any of the function, I know the importance of control function, especially the risk and the audit. The first move is always to want to retain people, and in this case, the reason was just around that the Jaipur is not an ideal position for them to work upon, right? And we were just in discussion, and you will appreciate that in the case of Alok, he actually started talking to us in the second week of July, right? And for this close to 1 month, we were discussing with him about his retention and whatever way we can do for him, and he was also actively involved. And then once we decided that he can't stay on because of the all sort of reasons, we need to find new one, right? And then we need to have some kind of another maybe week or 2 weeks, if you really want to look forward, because this is a very important function and we cannot leave it just because we don't have a person. And I strongly believe that AU has a lot of talent where, you can find people internally also. So I think that is why, the exit date of Alok is maybe around in October, right? So we proactively, announced maybe a good 45 days early, whereas in the stipulation says that it will be on the date of exit, right? Or maybe the date of appointment, right? So I think this is the usual HR practice. But, to announce on date of his expiration will be difficult, honestly, that we go to every time and say this is happening, because then there will be a lot of operational hazards, right? In terms of Sumit, we haven't even accepted his resignation. We haven't even made his mind right. And, something comes out blue and we have to just come and explain us. But in my sense, we have done absolute compliance of regulation, disclosures, and there was nothing to hide or nothing to, on the governance. It is about a simple HR issue, and we were trying to resolve. The entire committees, entire board was aware about it. Even the regulators are aware about it. So I think in that sense, we have done everything. But as we move on, we will learn from our mistakes, we will learn from the feedbacks, and we will try to improvise more and more on this.
Sanjay, let me just add a bit to that. What Sanjay has mentioned, let me assure from the board side that there is a very, very strong compliance culture within the institution, and which the board is also very particular about, and we are fairly hands-on in terms of the compliance culture building right from bottom up. So that's something which we will need to be assure you about. And as far as the disclosure is concerned, compliance on disclosure is also ensured through the core, and that's a given with the institution. And from the board committee point of view and the board's point of view, we continuously monitor that on compliance as well as disclosures. The retention policy, there is a retention policy. The bank is a retention process, where they try to engage with the staff who has expressed his willingness or expressed a desire to move on. There is a culture of continuous engagement and a process which sets in, and where they try to engage with the person and not knowing exactly what his problems are, and then try and sort them out. And if they get sorted out, he agrees to stay back. So it's a very gray area there. So disclosing something like that, which is in the process of maybe being sorted out and resolved also, could do more harm than good to the institution. So you have to take a call, and which is a very fine sort of line. But as far as genuine disclosures are concerned, where we feel that yes, this person is decided to go, and there's nothing we can do about it despite our best efforts, and then we take the call. And disclosure at the appropriate time is something which is a must and which is done by the institution. But the confusion, or rather the I would say some degree of latitude, you need to provide to the institution, because we have a culture of discussing, negotiating with the person, trying to know his problems. So that's a big help to the individual as well as to the broader organizational culture.
I appreciate the clarification and the details. The only thought I will leave you with, at least for the prospective investors, because you certainly have a very loyal bench of existing investors, but for prospective investors, we struggle with, while you're meeting the letter of the law, the spirit is not there, purely because it has happened more than once. It has happened around critical times. And it doesn't sync up when we're trying to look at data about the bank's performance. So there is compliance with the letter of the law, where you have 100 out of 100. There is compliance with the spirit of the law, which I think has shaken the confidence of a lot of us who are incremental investors. So I'll leave you with that as you identify areas for further improvement. But once again, I echo the sentiment that we appreciate the transparency, the efforts at transparency, and the willingness to get on a call. So thank you.
can I just add on, because it helps us, because we are a new bank, we have are on the journey of the whole corporate world, correct? So I just give you data point like, I remain MD for last 25 years. This is our 26th journey. Our audit committee head, which is headed by our independent director, Mr. Rafi sir, is there for 10, 11 years. My first lender, HDFC Bank, still remains my highest in terms of the borrowings we do from that bank only. Our rating agency remains same, which is CRISIL. So I believe that there are a lot of other data points also which make us one of the most governed, most in terms of compliant organization. Right? In this world also, what you're talking about, because this is the only case. Last time, in the last March, it was more of a error in judgment, right? Because the head of internal audit is not called a chief audit officer, right? And as per RBI stipulation also. And in this time also, the whole regulation does not say that you have to inform about head of internal audit. Neither the RBI, neither the your SEBI, right? So it's for us, when things are so much clear in the regulation, it's so difficult sometimes to comply on a spirit also, right? In case of Alok, we actually come 2 months before he's leaving us that he's there, he's leaving because of this reason, we have appointed new one, and he'll be there with us for next 2 months, right? So I don't think that we are doing something which we can do, but of course there is always a scope of improvement. And we have learned again from this incident, and we will try to be more appropriate and accurate.
Certainly. Thank you very much again, Sanjay. Appreciate you taking the time, and best wishes with the family regarding the health situation.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Nidesh Jain from Investec. Please go ahead.
Am I audible? Hello?
Yes.
Hello? Yes. Thank you for the opportunity. So you alluded to higher sourcing from the banks during earnings call, and today also you alluded to that. So in a specific segment, we are seeing that higher attrition that is great in the bank has been from the past. Or do you expect some more resignation going forward? That is creating a bit of positivity in the minds of investors. The bank performance remains very, very strong, but this sort of news flow that continues to come up, that creates a lot of volatility and uncertainty.
I'm sorry, I'm not able to understand your question.
So, first question is, you're saying...
Nidesh, your line is still not clear. Why don't you SMS me or WhatsApp me, Prince here, and then we'll answer that question.
Okay.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Abhijit Sakhare from Kotak Securities. Please go ahead.
Hi, good morning. More generally, the bank has been seeing high levels of attrition. So seems like most of it is driven by mid or junior level roles, given that you mentioned top 50 have not seen much of resignations. So do you think it is a hiring problem at some level at the bank, or people are not able to, cope up with expectations and targets generally?
Again, I would say that if you go back and see the verticals which are more stabilized, you will see much less attrition there, and the verticals or function which we really want to build, every month, every year in whatever way because of our whole business expansion, you will see a lot of churn there. Sometimes it's new territory, like we have ventured out now in East or maybe South. You will see a lot of churn for next 3 to 4 years. But once we stabilize as a brand, once we stabilize as an organization, people generally stick with us, And that is why I'm saying you that if you would have, in last 5 years also as a bank, if you ask me one question that, Sanjay, how many people, at top level, maybe top 100 level, how many people would have left us? I would say not more than 20 people, right? So that number is quite exciting, honestly. And so So we don't think that we are doing anything unnecessary due pressure, unnecessary, the culture. We've been told that your culture is very different, but I think our culture is about working. The culture is to do something on a very every day. The culture is about the purpose. So I think that is why the EU is a very special place to work, to be very honest. So, and we really want to be like that, again, I want to repeat that this is two very unfortunate events, and which we don't have any control, these two gentlemen are sitting here, they can reply more on that. But to take some course action here is not advisable.
Got it. Thanks. So second question is, like Sanjay sir, when we look at the profiles of the senior management team, there seems to be some level of constant changes in their functions over the last 3-4 years. To give some examples, Mr. Rishi Dhariwal.
That is our strategy. That is our strategy because I strongly believe that banking is not about rocket science, apart from your tech team, So the people generally should know how to do risk management or accounts management or an operation management. And they should also be allowed to work in a different functions or in different verticals because at any point of time they are prepared to take any kind of role, and that makes them also very excited and get out of their boring kind of routine. So I think that's remained a key fact for us for last maybe 20 years, and we have got a lot of success because of that only, and that is why people always remain very excited in AU. That they might be playing one role as of now, but in coming years they might be playing a different role. So again, we want to stick with that.
Sure. No, we would have thought that probably they need to spend a few years to kind of adjust. For example, the CRO role has moved across, 4 people in the last 5 years, so it seems a little bit odd.
No. Can I be right on data point? Before 17, the idea was to have 2 risk officers, one risk officer other than the credit risk. So that was Mahek Markande. He was appointed in the year 15, and he remained with us as a CRO till March 21, and he's still in the bank. He's heading our credit card business. The other 2 guys which you're talking about, credit risk, they were merged under Mayank. So there was no change. Our credit risk guy, day 1 is Vinay Vash, and is still reporting to Alok. So there is no change there. Again, repeat, there is no change in our risk structure from 15 to 2021. It was the alignment on the basis of regulator advice.
Got it, sir. Got it. That will be all. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, operator, I just have one question from Nidesh, whose line was unclear. Nidesh is from Investec. His question is, in which segment are you seeing higher attrition? You mentioned that poaching has increased at the bank during earnings call of Q1.
So I would say it's across bank. Our asset customers are a good, employees are good poaching ground for NBFCs and new banks. Our tech team is a poaching ground for many of the fintechs, and our liability team is the poaching ground for many new entrants in the field. So it's across belt, but I think we also remain very excited, very exciting franchise. So we also are getting good number of people from across board. And so it remains challenge, but it is not overly worried for us, because we are into different tangent there in terms of no legacy issue, no asset class issue, nothing there sort of. So people feel very comfortable once they join and remain with AU for first 1 year, right? And that the journey afterwards can be very different. So that is there. Other than that, I don't think much of issues are there. Yeah. Are we there? Yeah.
We will move to the next question, which is from the line of Vishal from Motilal Oswal. Please go ahead. Mr. Vishal, your line is unmuted. Please go ahead with your question. As there is no response from the line of Vishal, with that, we will conclude the conference.
Yeah, okay.
I would now like to further any closing remarks, sir, from your side?
Yeah. On behalf of the AU team, we'd like to thank everyone for joining us. Please, and ISEC for hosting us. Please reach out to the investor relations team in case you have any further queries. Thank you.